So that one of the area where still much needs to be investigated are ecosystem, and in particular the forest. And so we're lucky to have Frances Seymour here, who is the former Director General of the Center for International Forestry. And so she will take the forest to highlight really where progress can still be made.
Thank you. Let me begin by assuring the gentleman to my right that I'm a strong supporter of organizing IIASA research and sessions of this conference around the three global program areas of food and water, energy and climate, poverty and equity. But even though arguably forest is in the dead center of that Venn diagram where the three circles come together, that organization and framing has kept us from really going deep into forests as an issue area per se and the contemporary forest management problems that systems analysis can address. So in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to heroically try to remedy that deficit by creatively debunking some amazingly persistent myths about forests that continue to be discussed, particularly in national capitals, and relate them to the three problem areas and IIASA's future research agenda. So, starting with poverty and inequity. The first convenient untruth, as was termed yesterday, is that poor people are the main cause of deforestation. In fact, spatial analysis reveals that the preponderance of deforestation currently taking place is commercial-scale land clearing for industrial agriculture to produce commodities that are globally traded, such as soy, beef, pulp and paper, and oil palm. So all of us in this room who are consumers of those products are actually the agents of deforestation. Indeed, I could easily make the counter-assertion that deforestation causes poor people. Because when large tracts of forests are converted to plantations, the benefits do not automatically accrue to the customary land users who depended on those forests for a part of their livelihood, and especially women. Now, we heard this morning that it's poor people who are most vulnerable to climate change, and the evidence suggests that forests provide an important ecological buffer to those extreme weather events, the long droughts, the heavy rainfall events, that we can expect to occur more frequently. And a body of research building on Elinor Ostrom's work is making the case that local communities tend to do a better job than governments in managing forests. So an important element of the research and policy agenda for the future is to illuminate more about the true drivers of deforestation, the relationship between deforestation and poverty, and to strengthen the forest-related rights and tenure and institutions of local communities so that they can more effectively exercise their stewardship. Moving on to food and water. The second convenient untruth is that in a world of finite land resources, we just have to sacrifice forests for food security. Well, in fact, we've known for a long time that forests make up a large but largely invisible contribution to food security beyond serving as a land bank for agriculture. Forests are a direct source of food for communities, the wild fruits, nuts, insects, bushmeat that provide important nutrients as part of rural diets. But forests are also an important source of income to buy food. Research from 8,000 households in and around forests from 25 countries suggests that on average, forest-based income composes about 24% of household income, which is more than the income from agricultural crops. And that data is completely missing from national accounts. So research is needed to further document those issues, but also the important contribution of forests to agricultural sustainability through the ecosystem services of pollination and hydrological regulation that may well extend to the continental scale. So I hope I've convinced you that the relationship between forests and food security is by no means a zero-sum trade-off, but rather an optimization problem with important distributional consequences. So as a result, we need more research to strengthen the knowledge base on the significance of those forest-based goods and services related to food security and supporting the institutions necessary to make the difficult land use allocations at multiple scales. Turning to climate and energy, the third convenient untruth is that to protect the climate, the best thing you can do is plant a tree. Well, actually, for all kinds of reasons, the best thing you can do is protect the trees that are already standing. And the worst possible thing you can do is to cut down a tree in order to plant a new one. And the most egregious example of this mistake that's going on at large scale as we speak is the conversion of natural forests to oil palm plantations. It's been estimated that if you convert a peat swamp in Southeast Asia to oil palm, use all the biodiesel to substitute for fossil fuels, it would take more than 800 years to get back to where you started in terms of the carbon debt from that initial pulse of emissions from land use change. Now, the good news is that the international community woke up to the significance of climate emissions about 5 years ago, and REDD+ is one of the more promising areas of agreement in global climate negotiations, and heads of state are now talking about forests. But as Diana Liverman's presentation this morning suggests, there's a huge research agenda to make REDD work, as well as to analyze which biofuels are indeed climate friendly. Finally, focusing on the science policy interface, the fourth and final convenient untruth is that the actors who really need to do something about deforestation are the ministers of forestry in forest-rich countries. Actually, most drivers of deforestation are extra-sectoral. It's agriculture, it's mining, it's infrastructure, it's overcapacity in the wood processing industries. So the policy interface has to be multi-sectoral. It also has to be multi-scale. REDD shows we got to link information and incentives from individual landowners through national policies all the way up to global trade and investment flows. And it has to be multi-stakeholders. Ultimately, governments are going to have to put in place the policies and enforce those policies and governance regimes that reward sustainable production of forest-based goods and services, such as certified timber or carbon storage, and punish illegal and wasteful forest destruction. In the meantime, there's plenty of scope for the private sector to get out ahead of current regulatory requirements and remove deforestation from their commodity chains. But as Bjorn Stigson told us yesterday, markets aren't very good at catalyzing transformational change. So for that, as Yolanda Kakabadze told us, we need civil society to insist on greater transparency and accountability in forest management from both government and business, and science is needed to inform all of these. So I hope I've convinced you that there's no better topic for IIASA systems analysis approach than forests, and I hope forests remain high and visible on your agenda. Thank you.